So the next one is going to be Christopher Brown. We have the pleasure of having him here. He's the underwriting director of the UK club, but the reason he's here particularly because he's part of the large casualty working group of the IG. And Chris is going to talk to us about premium and reinsurance impact of large claims in particular. Christopher speaks also Danish, so if you want to address the floor in Danish, you're welcome.
I'll save that one for... Thank you, Federico. It's a good topic that we could use a day on, so I'll sprint through and just really try to explain the challenge that a club has and link this in a way to what many of you will feel is the challenge of your upcoming renewals. Where does your premium go and how claims might affect that? It is Shipping in the Law conference, and just a reminder that ship owners do face quite a few legal regimes. The international group supports many of these. In fact, supports them by putting up blue cards and has been good for shipping and good for the group to have these international regimes. And there's another one coming. You'll see the HNS convention coming. But all of them they preserve limitation, but there can be large claims under all of these regimes. So we'll skip through this a bit. This was the international group's reinsurance contract that goes up to $3 billion of cover. And just suffice it to say that the biggest underwriter on this contract is here in the room now. And that is you, the ship owners. You participate through the pool and share costs at risk and through the group's captive Hydra. So it's very important to know that the group, your P&I clubs, are absorbing a large part of the risk. And rather than filter through or show you how a claim like the Costa Concordia would work its way through in payments and then come back in terms of increases, I was just remembering I took a sociology course at university, and the first question was define sociology, and the professor expected a very long explanation. I didn't get a good grade because I wrote sociology is the scientific study of the obvious. And maybe we'll just leave it here that when a large claim breaks through all these layers, and it takes hundreds of millions of dollars through this reinsurance program, that costs will increase and they reach their way back to you. But I don't like to be a pessimist. We do need to say there are some incredibly positive trends that are taking place that are keeping the total cost of large claims down. And I particularly like what happens with the tanker industry. And you look at this is the number of spills, but if you look at the ITOP statistics, you'll also see this for quantity. And all you have to do is sort of imagine back, if we went back to the 90s and had that level of oil spills, what sorts of reinsurance premiums you'd be paying. So there is a cause for optimism here. Skip through a few of these. Let's turn to the individual club. So that was the industry as a whole, how large claims can affect that program. Let's look at what happens to your individual club. And clubs face a lot of volatility with large claims. So one of the things we have to do is find ways to manage that. And this is claims above $500,000 for the UK club. Other clubs might have similar statistics, so just using this because it's the data I have. And you look at a very good year. We had a fantastic year for big claims, 2011. A sort of 1 in 20 fantastic year. Statistically, 2013, we had a heavy claims year. So how do we manage that? What tools and what can members expect? Many clubs will tell you how they manage and what they do with their premium. Here's 3 examples of clubs which publish information about the abatement layer, we call it. It's a form of internal insurance to allocate large claims. This is where your broker can come in handy to help you explain what do different clubs do. We have slightly different practices, but a number of clubs run something called an abatement layer. Part of your premium goes to that layer to pay the large claims. So I'll show you how that works, because it often isn't understood, and it is the primary mechanism for absorbing large claims. There's a statistic for you, the UK club's average claim size. And typically, people would like to pay a premium that just covers the average claims. It's a sort of break-even mutual concept. We've got claims of this magnitude, so we'll pay premium of that magnitude. But of course, we have that exposure, we have that volatility to the large claims. So some clubs, and the UK club is one, will operate a next layer of claim. Try to identify the maximum size claim that would go on a loss record, and in turn the loss record drives the statistics and probably determines what sort of renewal or premium levels you will have. But there's a maximum claim size that's put, and this is to scale. So for the UK club at 2.5 million, it's equivalent to approximately 90 average injury claims. That's the most that would go on your record for an individual claim. But again, this is to scale. We have, and next year the pool level will be 10 million. We somehow have to pay and set aside enough money for the membership to pay for a claim that will be that scale. And that level of claim we mutualize across the clubs, across the members of the club. So we take part of everybody's premium and accumulate it and set it aside to pay these large claims. And that is the theory of how an abatement layer works. There's a question, though, how much will your club tell you about it? How does the club know how much money to set aside? And there are different techniques. And Caravaggio, who we see as very serious paintings here, and I'm sure you heard a good art history lecture, he did have a sense of humor as well, and I think that he looked at fortune-telling. I think that's how that translates. And this is one of the discussions we have with the brokers sometimes, of how do we tell what's happening. There are other ways, and leave you with this last serious slide. This was financial modeling that now takes place with most clubs. It's a consequence of managing the large claims, of the regulatory environment, rating agency pressure, Solvency II, as we do need to understand statistically what might happen. And this is an example of the UK club. You can see at the bottom it's the millions of dollars of claims expected, and on the left side is the statistical probability. So we're saying basically for the UK club, average claims will be around $250 million. But again, I mentioned 2011, a fantastic year. We had a very low claims year, and 2013, how the large claims affected that. The red line is the gross impact, and the blue is the impact of reinsurance, and reinsurance is an important technique. But we do have a Swiss Re representative here. It's very expensive, isn't it? And you can impair the results of your club by buying too much reinsurance at the wrong time anyway. So I'll leave you a very brief summary of managing these large claims. Scale of the club is important. The capital position, the ability to lose some free reserves if you have a particularly bad year, use of reinsurance, and clarity of how we use tools like the abatement layer to mutualize these big risks across the membership. Thank you very much.